This video will describe how to use suppletive forms rules. And we're here in the Tagalog project. This is a suppletive forms rule for 2 Tagalog verbs. You use a suppletive forms rule when there's a word that needs an irregular form for one reason or another, and you don't want to generate that form, or maybe you can't generate that form using rules. It's just irregular. So you write a suppletive forms rule. This particular rule applies to 2 words, dalao, meaning to visit, and kain, meaning to eat. And these both happen to be in manner adverbial clauses. For example, people are not able to live by eating only bread. For one reason or another, Tagalog needs an unusual form of the word to eat in a sentence like that, by eating only bread. So that's when you use a suppletive forms rule. To illustrate this, I'd like to switch over to English, and we'll write a new rule. Let's go to sentence 4. And we have 2 adverbial clauses here. One, leave, is in an if clause, and then punish is in a when clause. Now, English doesn't need these suppletive forms rules, so I'm just going to show you an example of how to make one. But again, I'm just making this up. We don't need this for English. So let's write a new rule. Suppletive forms for verbs and adverbial clauses. This will be a suppletive forms rule. And there are features up here. You can specify, you can put up to 99 words in one rule. And each word can have up to 50 columns, 50 different forms. You'll never need anywhere near that many. All of these words and columns can be, you can write one set of features. For example, let's say we want this rule to only apply in adverbial clauses. So now when it's time to execute this rule, okay, this is a verb rule. So when the software comes to a verb, it will first check the features up here. If the verb isn't in an adverbial clause, then it won't even check the rest of this rule. So, okay, so this particular sentence has leave in an if clause. Okay, for our first word in a new suppletive forms rule, we click the trigger word and we'll select leave. So we're going to write a rule for leave that's in an if. Okay, this is if conditional, if sensei. First I want to show you something. Okay, I'll double click here. Let's say that the word leave has special forms in if sense A, which is conditional, if sense B, which is hypothetical, and if sense C, which is counterfactual. Let's say leave has a special form for all of those. So you can have, I'm going to show you how to add multiple columns. We can say add column, and let's say this is for if sense B, which is hypothetical. I click here to copy the name into here. So, and then we check that box. So we're going to call this if B leave. And now the one we actually need for this verse, leave in an if A clause. Add column, if sense A, okay, and while we're here, let's add one more for punish. Let's say that when punish is in a when clause, then it also needs a very irregular form. So we'll say add layer, and now we choose a rule. We choose the verb that we want this rule to apply to, punish. So this whole row, this whole layer will now apply to the verb punish. Let's say add, we'll just do one here. And this is when is in a when clause. And let's say it's when punish. Okay, so this rule applies to 2 words right now, punish and leave. You can have up to 99 words in a particular suppletive forms rule. For leave, we have these 3 columns, so we have these 3 suppletive forms. Each one will be put into a different type of adverbial clause. For punish, we just have 1. When the word punish occurs in a temporal when clause, like it does here, then we'll expect to see when punish. So we've written our rule. We'll say OK. Let's generate this first. And we see here, if a leave, and in the history pop-up, we see that leave was changed to if a leave by the suppletive forms rule that we just wrote, layer leave. It doesn't go by numbers, it goes by words. Layer leave, column 3. And if we look down here, we see in the history pop-up that punishes was changed to when punish by that same suppletive forms rule, layer punish, column 1. If we look at the rule, the rule sorts these words in alphabetical order automatically for you. So it doesn't refer to layer 2 or layer 1. It refers to the leave layer or the punish layer. So that's how you use suppletive forms rules.